I am going to just wait and see who joins. I'll give it about a minute or so, and then we can get started. Cool. Okay, hello, friends. How are you doing? Hope you're good. So, my name is Aisha. Thank you for joining. And my pronouns are she and her. And I'm based in London, but today I'm actually in Newcastle. I'm here to watch the Rugby League, which is tomorrow. Exciting. Okay, so tell me your name, tell me where you're joining from, pop it in the chat. And yeah, so just to let you know, I will be with you every Friday until towards the end of December, and just for 15 minutes talking about how to be an ally to Black women. So my next session is going to be on pay equity, and I'm going to have a special guest. I'll pop the link in the chat. So make sure you join me next Friday. And yeah, so let's get started. So today I'm talking about why you need to pay Black women fairly. So I have some stats. I love to start things with stats. So the first thing is in the US, a Black woman stands to lose about $1 million over the pay of a white man over 40 years of full-time work. So that's crazy. And in the UK, it's not that much different. So about 52% of Black women lose as much as £10,000 every year due to wage inequality, and nearly half of the women who had actually experienced this ethnicity pay gap didn't really challenge it because they were worried about the backlash, which is understandable. But when they did challenge, so when only about a quarter did challenge, they had a successful outcome. So that's only a quarter of them. So out of the people who challenged, a quarter of them had a successful outcome. And what a lot of them faced was delays and denials. And sometimes, they had their employers acting as blockers. By the way, I have my phone because I have some notes. So yeah. And it happens to match my top. So here we go. So, when they did, approach their employer to say, hey, you're not paying me fairly compared to my colleagues. They face denial, they face the backlash, all of that stuff. I see some more people are joining. So hello, pop your name in the chat. Tell me where you're joining from. I'm in Newcastle today. I'm not in London. Okay, so back to the stats. So when they brought it up to their employer, they faced denial, they faced backlash, and their employers acted as blockers when they questioned their salary, which is not good. Another thing is UK-born Black women are least likely to be in the top percent of earners compared to all other women and men. Okay, so first things first, right? Why it's important to pay Black women fairly in the workplace is people talk. So I don't know why, but a lot of employers have this belief that people are not talking. People are talking. They are just talking about their salaries. And if you don't pay people fairly, they will eventually find out. And if they find out, they might decide not to say anything about it. But if they do decide to raise it, maybe you give them the runaround and maybe they'll let it go. But maybe they sue you and they get a lot of money. So you end up losing way more than you would have if you had just paid them fairly. Okay. Hey, Andre. Thanks for joining. Oh, hey, Alyssa. Hey. Oops. I hope this doesn't fall over. Okay, cool. All right, cool. So yeah, that's why you should pay people fairly, because you don't want to get sued and they're going to find out. But also, again, it's the right thing to do. Like, imagine how disheartening it is to find out that you're being paid less than your colleagues. Sometimes we're actually doing more work. That's super demotivating. And then, the person could feel disengaged. But let's take it a bit further, right? So there's this Black woman. Her name is Susie. Susie's a fictional character. I've just made her up. So Susie, because you haven't paid her fairly, can't afford to take her kids to go, I don't know, practice ballet, have a nice summer holiday, maybe pay for a tutor, and now her kids can't, get piano lessons and they can't become this piano geniuses, all because you haven't paid her fairly. So when you don't pay people fairly, that actually has serious consequences to their lives, and I think sometimes people forget about that. Newcastle United fan. No, I'm here to watch the rugby league. So the kickoff tournament is tomorrow, so that's why I'm here. Yay! My first time in Newcastle as well, by the way. But I like being up north. Okay, so yes, pay people fairly. Anyway, so I have some solutions for you. So I've grouped it into 3 buckets. So for HR people and recruitment, that's the first bucket. Second bucket is managers. Third bucket is event organizers and anyone who's not a people manager. right? So first things first. So if you work in HR, it's really important to use some sort of pay equity tool just to track, things like the salary ranges, things like your pay gaps, things like, when you give people bonuses, how does that impact things? How are people sitting compared to the rest of their colleagues? Believe it or not, a lot of companies are not using these tools. And I believe that tools are super important. So when you think about equity, yes, there is the hearts and minds thing in terms of, okay, it's the right thing to do, talk to people, help them understand, why it's important to pay people fairly. But then the flip side of it is you need to give them the tools and you need to provide systems that actually help them to do that. Because let's assume most people want to do the right thing, but if it's too difficult or they're having to use multiple tools to get the job done, then that's not great. So use some sort of pay equity tool. And as it happens, next week I will be talking with Bracken, who's CEO of Logitech, because they do have a pay equity tool that they're using. So he's going to be talking about how they're ensuring pay equity. So yes, if you're a HR person, use some sort of pay equity tool to, ensure that people are paid fairly. If you're a recruiter, and I know we have some recruiters on the call, and they're probably already doing this because they're awesome, awesome recruiters. Yes, I know them personally. Don't ask people their salary information. So when you're interviewing candidates, don't ask them what they're currently earning. Ask them what their expectations are. And if the expectations are lower than the salary range, then tell them what the salary range is. So don't ask people for their previous salary, because if they're already being paid less because they're a woman or they're an ethnic minority or they're disabled or for whatever reason, if they're already being paid less than their peers, and now you ask them for their previous salary and you make them an offer in terms of their salary for the job that they're going for, then you're kind of feeding into the problem. So now you're feeding into the problem. So just pay them based on what the range is. And I have seen a lot of recruiters post about this on LinkedIn, where they've had candidates who wanted less than the range and they actually told them the range and told them that they deserve more. So yes, I want to see more of this happening. So if you're a recruiter, don't ask people their previous salary and tell them the range. And if they are lowballing themselves, then tell them. No guessing games. Okay, cool. So that's HR and recruitment covered. Then managers. Okay, so if you notice someone on your team is being paid less than their colleagues, don't wait until they find out. So like, let's say you're a new manager onto a team, the team's already been established, and then you join, and then you can see that people are being paid less, even though they're kind of doing the same and their performance is very similar. Don't just sit there and twiddle your thumbs and think, oh no, what can I do? Well, you can do something. So you can go talk to HR and figure out why there is this pay discrepancy and see if you can, work with them to increase the other person's pay. So don't wait for them to find out, because again, going back to my point about people talk to each other, so eventually they will find out. Don't wait for them to find out to actually pay them what they deserve. So do everything you can to change that. And if you can't change it, then maybe you could tell them that they're being paid less. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say that. But anyways, do everything you can. I'll have that conversation another day. Okay, the second thing you can do if you're a people manager is when you're promoting people as well, and when you're giving out things like bonuses, have a look at who you're putting forward. So is it just men you're putting forward? Is it just white people you're putting forward? Do you have diversity in terms of who's getting the promotions and who's getting the big bonuses? And it's also important to look at the bonus sizes, because the bonus sizes also matter. You don't want to be in a position where you're paying on average a higher bonus size to male employees and then a lower bonus size to female employees, because obviously that then perpetuates things. And then also looking at it across multiple identities as well is super important. Aha, okay, cool. So yes, Lucy and Yak. So like my colleague told me about their dungarees and I got them and I was so pleased. It's so hard for me to get. I think this is the first time I've ever had dungarees, assuming me. And okay, we've got Alyssa saying, bring everyone at the top of the range. I say, I love it. I love it. Just give everyone all the coins. Give all the coins. Give all the coins. Okay, so the last group of people I want to talk about is event organizers, right? And also anyone who's not people manager. So I've got a fun story for you. So one time I was organizing a panel with 3 people. 2 were men, 1 was a woman, and I was organizing with other people. So they had the calls with the speakers and understood how much they wanted to be paid and so on. And it came out that the men asked for basically almost double or triple what the woman had asked for. And, we were having this conversation of, oh, what do we do? And I said, well, we need to pay the woman more. Like, we need to bring her up closer to them, because it's not fair to have all of them on the panel contributing the same, type of information. And then, she's being paid like triple less. That doesn't make any sense. So what we did was we bumped her up without her asking. So again, going back to my point, people are always saying that women need to lean in, and women need to be more bullish and more assertive when it comes to talking about money. And while I agree with that, can we also just not play guessing games and let people know when they're lowballing themselves? So if you're organizing an event and you can see that there's a huge gap in between the speaker fees, then yeah, bring the person up and pay them more. And the same thing can be applied to things like influencers as well. So like if you're working with influencers and you can see that one influencer is asking for a lot more, even if they have like the same amount of followers or the engagement rate, then yeah, bump them up, right? Don't wait for people to ask for things for you to give it to them. Just give it to them if you're in a position to do so. Okay, and then the last thing I want to talk about is if you're a colleague. So if you're a colleague, so like let's say you're a man, you work with some women, and one of them comes and asks you how much you're earning, disclose your salary. I think we should talk more openly about salaries. Obviously, if you're doing similar jobs, if someone's not doing the same job as you and they're coming and asking you a salary, then you might be like, okay, you're nosy, why are you asking me this? But if you're doing the same job, similar type of industry, I think, yeah, people should talk about their salaries. And if your colleague should ask you about your salary, disclose, because you might actually be helping them figure out that they are actually being paid less than everybody else. So I remember reading, there was an article where this was being discussed, should you disclose your salary? And someone in the comments, it was a woman, she said that her male colleague told her that he was earning more than her. And then that was how she was able to then go to HR and ask why she was being paid less. And he backed her up. And like, he was willing to say, yeah, I told her how much I was making. And then she was able to get more money. So if your colleague asks you about your salary, tell them. Like, I've had people ask me about, oh, they're transitioning into a DI role, how much am I making? And I'm very open about it. I tell them how much I earn so they can, figure out how that stacks up and what they want to do. But obviously, if we're not in the same industry, don't message me and ask me about my salary, because I'm not going to tell you. That's none of your business. Okay, cool. So that's everything I have for you today. So just to recap the things I said. So if you work in HR and recruitment, so HR folks, use some sort of pay equity tool. Next week I'll be interviewing Bracken, and he'll talk about that. If you're a recruiter, don't ask people about their previous salary and give them the salary range. Don't play guessing games. If you're a manager and you notice that someone on your team is earning less, then do something about it, and just sit there and twiddle your thumbs and talk about how bad you feel without doing anything. And when you're promoting people and you're giving out bonuses, make sure that it's diverse, and also the bonus sizes are as equal as they can be. And if you're an event organizer or anyone who's not a people manager, if you're planning an event, one speaker has asked for way less than the others, try and bump them up without them asking. And if you're a colleague and you get asked your salary, then disclose it so that people can know if they're being paid fairly as well. Okay, last 2 minutes. Let me see if there's any questions in the chat, any comments. Okay, yeah. Someone says, Hamza says, disclosing your salary to your colleagues in a similar role can also be beneficial to you. You might be the one being underpaid. Exactly. So if you're the one being underpaid and you disclose it to them, and hopefully they tell you this, because imagine if you tell them your salary and then they keep quiet because they've just realized they're being paid more than you. Hopefully they tell you back, and then yes, you can then do something about it as well. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna stay on for maybe a couple more seconds, and then I'm gonna go. Let me do this in the meantime. I'm gonna pop the link to register for the next live sessions, I think, if it lets me do it. Is it gonna let me do it? Okay, it's not letting me do it. Okay, just go on my LinkedIn page. You'll see a post about it. Anyways, I see nothing in the chat. So going once, going twice, I'll go away, and then I'm gonna go have dinner and maybe have a few drinks. and enjoy the weather. Okay, you know what? I'm actually going to show, let me see if I can flip my camera around and show you the view. Can I flip my camera around? No, I can't. Okay, let me show you the view. Look at that. So pretty. Okay. One more thing. So I can see Andrea says one more thing. So I'm going to wait to hear that one more thing. I'm going to wait and see. Share the YouTube link in the comments. It's much easier. Okay, let me see if I can do that. Hopefully you can all still see me. Cut. Okay. Okay. I've put the links in the chat. Ooh, there's something in my throat. Okay. So I put the link in the chat. Ooh. Something went down the wrong way. Ow. Okay, I'm fine now. Thank you for joining, and I will see you all next week. Have a good weekend. Okay, I promise I'm not crying. There's actually something in my throat. This is the second time this has happened to me this week while I've been on a phone call or in a meeting. Okay, bye.